Hey guys, what is up? It's Dusty here, and welcome back to another crypto video. Today we have a ton of stuff to cover. I recommend you guys to subscribe to the channel for more crypto news updates, and also press that like button if you are enjoying the daily crypto news. Starting it off, well. Ripple wants to depose former director Hinman, and surprise, the SEC does not want that to happen. The brief itself is mildly interesting, but the more interesting stuff is in the exhibits to the motion. Interesting stuff, doing a video sometime tomorrow, and when I actually read the deposition motion itself, or I should say, the SEC motion to quash the deposition, I was quite amazed, right? I talked to you guys about that in the previous video, but now I actually took a little bit of a good look at the exhibits, and to be honest, Jeremy Hogan is right on point. It is quite fun and quite interesting to take a little bit of a look at that. So without wasting too much of you guys' time, if you go to exhibits here at the bottom of this motion, you'll find first of all that William Hinman has been commanded to show up on the 30th. And again, the SEC obviously does not want that. Scroll through a little bit, you can actually see right here everything that William Hinman declares. It's a declaration in support of plaintiff's motion to quash defendant's deposition subpoena. It's just, again, him going over everything that he has done and has not done. I did not participate directly or indirectly in any offers or sales of XRP, and so forth and so on. I found it pretty cool. Now, can I draw any conclusions? Not necessarily. There's just a lot of fun things and fun little know-its, so to speak. And I've been kind of reading and having some fun there. Here is the big speech we talked about before. He also did some clarifications within his Exhibit B here, and so forth and so on. I've just been reading through everything here. Not in full detail, not reading every single part, but just kind of scrolling through and gazing a little bit. We write on behalf of Ripple, Brett Goliath and Chris Larson, in response to your letter on June 7th, during a meeting confer on Friday, June 4th, the SEC acknowledged that it does not and cannot represent Mr. Hinman. Although Ripple recognizes that, at his deposition, the SEC may instruct Mr. Hinman not to answer various questions based on the assertion of various privileges, and so forth and so on. It's basically, again, saying, Ripple, we want that guy. Your letter fails to demonstrate how the SEC can meet that standard, or why the court should bar Mr. Hinman's deposition altogether instead of adjudicating any privilege issues they arise. It's all regarding Mr. Hinman, and he should basically be able to talk about everything. And it's not like this is actually the first time that Ripple tried to get info out of Mr. Hinman, but it wasn't really working properly. And that's mostly talked about in this section right here. Because Mr. Hinman is a former SEC employee, taking his deposition will not interfere with any ongoing public responsibilities. And this kind of comes down to the fact that the SEC now, a couple of weeks after this entire discussion, is trying to say, no, you can't go after Mr. Hinman. But prior, Ripple put up so many different points why they should be able to. Mr. Hinman, this is actually one of Ripple's most interesting points in my opinion. Mr. Hinman has unique first-hand knowledge of evidence that may directly be relevant to Ripple and the individual defendants, which, again, Mr. Hinman actually denies, saying, I do not, and information reasonably calculated to assist in the discovery of relevant evidence. Ripple has made diligent efforts apart from deposing Mr. Hinman to identify evidence in the position of the SEC that reflects the understanding of market participants as to whether XRP was a security subject to the registration. Your letter disingenuously suggests that Ripple is free to contact those participants, but Ripple has sought without success to learn from the SEC who those participants might be. Mr. Hinman is in a unique position to provide direct evidence that Judge Netburn has previously ruled is discoverable about his individual communications on these issues. Because, again, the SEC now says that they are not in a position to give that information out. That's, again, the key point. As well as to provide leads to other relevant evidence. But yeah, it's pretty cool, guys. I've just been reading through this a little bit, and I think it's really fun to see how the SEC is trying something which Ripple has kind of disproven already. Now, from this point forward, I didn't go too far or too deep into it because I already found a couple of fun points, and I was like, hey, let's talk about that. Here's the initial disclosure pursuant to Rule 26A. I'm not going to quote too much on the stuff here below. in the end of things, I'm not a lawyer, not a financial advisor, or anything like that. These are just contact points as I'm seeing it now. Hey, Mr. Hinton will likely have discoverable info related to the SEC. Now, let's not cover this too much, the bottom parts, but you guys get the idea, right? These exhibits are a lot more fun than I had ever expected, and I was just really amazed by all of that. Let's just put it like that. Let's wait for the video of Jeremy Hogan tomorrow to see what he can find in these exhibits. Then, on the same note, I also want to quickly clarify here. I talked to you guys a little bit earlier yesterday or earlier today even, that there's a new lawyer in. Let's make it clear. This is a paper that shows that there's a new lawyer, or at least knew somebody. The clerk of court and all parties of record, I am admitted or otherwise authorized to practice in this court, and I appear in the case as counsel for the SEC. So that basically just means there's somebody new coming into the SEC side. They're getting some reinforcements. It's two-sided though. One, that's kind of strange, right? Why are they getting somebody else in? But then again, it's also not, because this happens all the time. And on the other side, it's like she's already been there for a little while, but now, that's again what James said, have they filed the formal thing? But she's already been there because she's already at least signed a couple of documents a little bit earlier. So not that big a deal, not that bad a thing, not that good a thing. It's nothing really. All right, that's for the lawsuit and the update regarding that. Let's move on. We got more stuff. Big money expected to rotate from Bitcoin to Cardano, Ether, XRP, BNB, and Doge. Now, you don't actually need articles to kind of make a little scenario for this. I mean, here's one crypto analyst, self-proclaimed, Crypto Will, and he has predicted that there will be a major shift to trading altcoins by Bitcoin holders. To be honest with you, it'll always happen that way, and it's just a certainty. What's going to happen is these bigger caps, so for example, Bitcoin, are eventually going to go into the huge caps, which are, for example, XRP, ADA, Dogecoin, Uniswap. They're all in the top list. And from that point on forward, it will kind of flow out from those to this a little bit smaller, to a little bit smaller, to a little bit smaller. That cycle will always go in the same type of fashion. When things get bullish, though. And right now, people are looking for the best coins to kind of get this recovery with, but it's going to depend. And let me kind of explain that. If Bitcoin/crypto recovers right now quite significantly, people will be going for altcoins because they usually outperform Bitcoin at some crazy percentages. So if we go down further, most people want to stay with Bitcoin though, or the higher caps, because they crash less. But as again we recover, they also want to get more gains, and so they diversify into lower caps. And the first ones they go for are usually the top ones, which are again XRP, ADA, Dogecoin, Uniswap. Just some real top high coins. Now, you might actually be quoting utility. I'm going to say it out loud. I don't like it, but it is the way it is. Utility doesn't actually play that significant of a role just quite yet in the crypto space's coins. I mean, if we take a look at ADA, what's the actual utility right now? Has it got a lot of potential? Oh, definitely yes. But is there a lot of real utility? Debatable. Dogecoin, another good example, and I guess Uniswap and XRP are not that good examples, but you guys get the point, right? It's mostly about the vision that they bring and the idea, and of course, how long they've been in the market, and what the community is looking like. But will those coins be doing amazing if crypto recovers? Oh yes, oh yes. And Ether is another one, all right? Bitcoin, a lot of those guys that are into Bitcoin heavily, right now, even I have more Bitcoin than I had a little while ago because, well, sometimes some people sell altcoins to get back into Bitcoin to be safer. I don't do that. I do, however, get myself a little bit more Bitcoin in bearish times, preferably than other altcoins, when you think the prices might go down further, if you guys get what I mean with that. I like to, with Bitcoin, it's easier to kind of layer your buys because you're going to be a little bit closer together. With altcoins, it's like, well, you want to kind of a little bit more time it than with Bitcoin, I kind of feel like. But I layer my buys for everything. It's just a little bit different. I buy more Bitcoin when things are going bad than altcoins. And I try to kind of buy altcoins when things have already gone especially bad, if you guys get that drift. Now, VC giant Andreessen Horowitz will launch a $2.2 billion cryptocurrency fund. VC giant Andreessen Horowitz has announced intentions to launch a new $2.2 billion fund focused on the crypto industry. And you know what I've noticed, guys? Now, last couple of weeks, there's so many new projects that I have seen now and have seen really firsthand of them just asking for investment, asking for this, asking for that. Not necessarily me, but I see them being built up. And the fun part about that is if you had a big fund like that, we're talking a couple $1,000,000, couple hundreds of $1,000,000, couple billions of dollars, you have so much room to just invest in some of these crypto startups, and there could be so many huge gains. And if you're just a small time investor, sometimes the minimum investment is like $50,000, 100, maybe $250,000, maybe $1,000,000. It's not that easy to do, right? For these, private funds, and specifically not if you want to have any big impact, any decision making, or any big money, I guess, from that perspective either. If you're, for example, investing $1,000 and the crypto project does amazing, might go times 10. For a fund that invested, for example, 100 million, wow, right? Wow. But if you just invested $1,000 and you have 10,000, might be life changing, might be a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. But for these bigger guys, the bigger investment has just proportionally a different effect, and that's sometimes so crazy to me how money makes money, and you see that in the crypto space right now. If you had, for example, $10 million a little while ago, you just started putting money into these different DeFi projects, not the projects themselves, like for example the crypto ones they've already launched, but the companies behind them. Oh my days, would that have gone crazy, right? And so forth and so on. Even if you can buy the projects themselves from the get-go, it's mostly about either strategic capabilities. So if you are a company already that has a lot of connections, for example, or just having money. Because then you get the chance to invest into those things. Coinbase Ventures and a lot of those other venture companies that we know and love by now, a lot of those just get the chances because they're either strategic partnerships or because they have money. And that's again the unfair advantage that these guys have. But 2.2 billion can get you really far in this space. It's a lot of freaking money, and this will allow for a ton of projects to be funded. Don't get it wrong. This is huge. This is really, really huge. It's a big deal, and I'm jealous. Right? I'm jealous. Now, blockchain.com introduces username-based crypto transactions. Pretty big deal too. I use blockchain.com every now and then, but it's mostly just because I used it a couple of years ago and I've kind of got some money still left there. It's, however, a place that I know a lot of newbies and people that are new to the space use, so it's a pretty nice thing, all right? I know that eventually usernames will be an industry standard anyway. Right now you have the Pay ID. What is it called now? With Ripple as well that they utilize, or XRP at least, you can utilize Pay ID. What's the name for it? I think Pay ID. They had to change the name once because of the Australian lawsuit, some copyright stuff or some patents, whatever, the name jargon stuff, whatever. So I don't remember exactly the name for it, but I think eventually within a couple of years, usernames will be the standard as it's just going to get rolled out further and further and further. Then Coinbase breaks in the Japanese market. Coinbase, the largest US crypto trading service, has made an entry into the Japanese market and set to commence operations. Again, pretty big deal, pretty cool to see. Expansion is rapid. We've been seeing that for crypto as a whole, but Coinbase itself has been expanding rapidly, even though you don't get the announcements too often. Coinbase announced on the 18th of June that its Japanese subsidiary has registered with the FSA, Japan's financial watchdog, and it's making its round over there. So that is, again, pretty cool to see. I'm not exactly sure what they meant with breaks. Oh, they just meant breaks in. I was for a little second thinking, I didn't read anything about Coinbase breaking, but they mean Coinbase has entered into the Japanese market. Then XRP's restricted movement could change. This is also an interesting little article. Conclusion is XRP's current price has taken initial steps towards recovery. This recovery could maintain the price of XRP between the above-mentioned range. As volatility has remained low in the market, as XRP moves forward, we may witness a price swing. These types of things, however, are so dumb. The title, very promising. The idea, very promising. Why? Well, XRP right now is in quite a restricted little movement, and a lot of people are wondering when exactly going to break out of this little range that we've gotten into and what the little situation is for XRP now. But the actual result and answer to give is XRP right now has fallen down proportionally with Bitcoin and will recover once Bitcoin does so. There's no real deviation from that right now for most of these altcoins. You might say, oh, but this one is going double a Bitcoin, or this one is going blah, blah. It's all about Bitcoin right now. It is all about Bitcoin. It is all about Bitcoin. There's nothing else to say. There's no discussion to be made. It is all about Bitcoin. These coins, however, can deviate a little bit from Bitcoin, but they are all following it along. I guess Internet Protocol is not the best example. I'm not exactly sure why that one is going down so much. Filecoin and some other ones like Theta are actually counterexamples too, because those cryptos have gotten a track record to defy the Bitcoin price and the Bitcoin correlation. But generally speaking, most altcoins that we know and love, it just follows along with that. So if you're talking about trend breaking and all of that, not just quite yet, not anytime soon. Do not worry about it. All right, guys. But well, look at that, by the way. The Bitcoin Ethereum volume. Ethereum volume is ridiculously high in comparison to Bitcoin, or Bitcoin ridiculously low. That is interesting to watch. But I wanted to say that was it for today's video. We have more stuff to talk about, but I have to prepare my story to get you guys the news in a easy and flowy fashion. Hopefully you enjoyed them. Hopefully you subscribed then, and I'll see you guys again in another crypto video later today.